Welcome everyone to From the Constituency. I'm Brian Calfano and joined by our newest OzarksFirst.com contributor, Amy Blancett, Dr. Amy Blancett, I ought to say. It's good to see you.
Good to see you as well. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure as always. And, I can't go on any further without asking you, Amy, what did you think about the president's revelation that homelessness started, at about 2 years ago?
2 years ago. It's a phenomenon that started 2 years ago. I'm not sure if he was actually talking about the increased media about it, which I would say is a positive. We're finally talking about it. Or if he actually meant that he's just now seeing homeless people on the streets. I'm going to go with the second one, make sure to feel better. It's that we're just increasing the media conversation, which means solutions are at hand. But
I was going to go with that explanation, and then he was talking about the airports and the Revolutionary War at the 4th of July celebration. So I don't know what we're doing at this point.
I don't know.
But the president is talking about, like you said, the issue, even though
Yes.
he's backing into it in kind of an abrupt and awkward way. And that's really your wheelhouse because of all the important work that you do in the community. And there was something like an article or a study that you had brought to my attention talking about neighborhood amenities and that sort of thing. What was all that about?
Yes. So one of the things we've been looking at in research in public health, when we're looking at mental health and why are the rates increased, one thing that keeps coming back is the place that we live matters. It influences the food access that we have. It influences the health access we have. It influences how we feel about our neighbors and then how that feels about our safety. So it's really looking at all the things that go into not only where you live by the city and the state, but more importantly, the street that you live on, really have a major influence on all of those social determinants to health is kind of the tag word that we use on what does all that mean, social determinants of health.
And so is this the sort of thing where even affluent people who live on a cul-de-sac and they never get out anywhere and they're kind of isolated even though they're in a neighborhood, right? The great suburban dream that defined America post World War II. I mean, that affects them as well. It's not just folks in impoverished neighborhoods, yeah?
Correct. And that's one thing that I actually experienced surprisingly. So, growing up, I grew up low income, and then my dream was always the gated neighborhood on the golf course, and, that was success. And I made it. I lived there. And it blew my mind that one day I was so socially isolated that a neighbor whose property backed up to us, and we don't have privacy fences in this neighborhood, they sent me a letter. It was a complaint, but it was a minor complaint. But instead of just simply walking through my backyard, and having a conversation with me, we didn't know each other. And we were so socially isolated that they did not even feel comfortable saying hello. If you would mind changing this one thing that's irritating us, we would be better neighbors. They sent me a letter. And
what was the letter nasty? Was it, to whom it may concern, stop sunbathing or whatever you were doing? I mean, was it nasty?
I mean, they knew our name. So it wasn't like it was hey, we don't even know who you are, but it was, we don't feel comfortable. They were letting us know that all year round they sleep with their windows open and that our music, because we had speakers in the outside, that they could hear them. And after a certain time that they would appreciate if we would turn them down. Easy thing. I mean, a conversation you can have with any neighbor. But, it's just, it was very odd that they felt that they needed to write a letter to us because they didn't care to know who we were. This might have been a thing that we could have had a discussion, we could have created a connection as neighbors, and instead it only created a further divide. So it made me realize...
You guys turned the music louder then, right? After you got the letter?
Exactly. Yeah. Like, we want to get to know you, so we're just going to,
force them to come over and yell, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to do that.
Right, but in this super safe neighborhood, we're supposed to feel safe because it's affluent and it's, gated. We knew one person. We knew one person, that property line. We kind of knew some other people, we'd say hello to them, but as far as actually socially hanging out, if I needed to borrow something, we really had one that flanked us and maybe one other. But I didn't know my neighbors. I live in a low-income neighborhood now, and when I'm out mowing my yard, people stop and they talk to me. My neighbors across the street on Monday nights have front porch, kind of everyone bring a dish, and we're neighborly and we hang out, and sometimes there's music and sometimes it's always random who shows up. And I love living here. I feel a part of a neighborhood. I feel safer here because I know my neighbors, and that makes a big difference.
What do you attribute the autonomy to in these other neighborhoods? I mean, and I'm assuming that the studies suggest most neighborhoods are more like the one with the neighbor sending you the letter as
Right.
opposed to the potluck dinners on Monday night, yeah?
Correct. And that's what we're finding is that individuals, regardless of gender, race, I mean, they remove all of these social economic factors, and they really were starting to look at why you feel connected with your neighborhood or why you don't, why you feel safe or why you don't. And we see that individuals are gravitating towards neighborhoods that have that connectedness. They want to know neighbors. And so it really comes to people are gravitating towards areas they feel they can do that. And so we're kind of generating it on our own. We realize that moving into these, mega mansions or these separated communities weren't fulfilling in what we thought. And so we're seeing people downsize and re-gravitate. So it doesn't necessarily answer your exact question, but the why part, and we're kind of creating it on our own. Here, I wanted to know my neighbors because I knew that if I didn't, and crime was a concern, that it only created more concern. By knowing my neighbors and making sure, we're mowing each other's grass or there's bushes that needed to be trimmed, we're intentionally creating that communication to make those things happen.
But, it kind of takes people like you in these neighborhoods to do it. And I just have to say, I mean, I'm kind of an antisocial person.
And also,
I'm antisocial, Amy. I'm not going to go wanting to talk to people I don't know. You're a different breed, and I just wonder if we need to sort of plant more folks like you across our cities. You're the ringers, really. You're the social ringers, because the rest of us are just sitting there going,
I don't want to do it. Yeah, there's been incentive programs that I don't know that many Springfieldians even know occurred. At one point, Drury University had an incentive program for faculty and staff who would buy houses around the university in order to create community that you can live and work and be a part of change, since they're also on this north side. That Midtown is really unique, where one side of it is affluent and one side is not. And so by encouraging individuals to come in and buy houses, they were able to create community through incentivizing. So there are ways to do it. I am not actually a social creature by habit. It's something I know I'm forcing myself to do. To walk into a room where I don't know people and have a conversation is like, I have 3 questions. And when I run out of those 3 questions, I'm like, well, I'm going to go now because I got nothing. But I know how important it is in order to make those spaces for others to come. And that's what we're really excited about the Fairbanks is we're going to have a coffee shop. We're going to have a market room. We want to put intentional places, gathering areas that individuals who just need to get out of their house have a place to go to sit and read or just be among other people.
And we circle back with the president's comment about homelessness. I mean, obviously there's so many other issues that are involved in someone who does not have housing on a permanent basis. But part of it, too, is the resilience of a community more generally to help those when they're down on their luck. And so I'm glad we had a chance to talk about all of this. And it's not a topic that I think is going away anytime soon. There's so many other ways to discuss this. But for now, Amy, thank you, and thank you for all you do. And thanks for being our contributor.
You're welcome.
We'll talk soon.
Okay, sounds great.